Alright, so I should be streaming right now. Here, I'll go ahead and I'll show it right now on YouTube. Right now we're just going through pre-game a bit. We're just gonna be just hanging out and whatever. A bit. I'll post it here. Okay, and then we're just gonna post it in event. There you go. So you can see the live stream going on. Let me know if you think, I don't know, maybe I can switch up the game or something. I could probably do that, but I just thought I'd pick something rather automated so I can just kind of focus on whatever someone is telling me, as opposed to like focusing real heavy on the game.
Hmm?
I don't know if you can you see it?
Looking. YouTube.
Also, my cat's gonna say hello every so often. She's just gonna look. Here's Cat Cam. There she is.
Is it not allowed to do that on Twitch? Well, why you don't do that on Twitch?
I'm just doing it on YouTube. If that's cool. Is that a big deal?
So you have a new follower?
Hmm? Oh, cool, man. Thanks.
Your stream is beside working well.
Cool. Good to know.
Hey, I'm on stream.
Bruh. You want me to stream your guys' names on the stream as well? We could do that if you want.
No. My name is private.
What's wrong? Alright. We'll see. It'll be alright.
Which game do you play?
Oh, this is just RuneScape. It's a very like it is not a very heavily thought-provoking game. It's mostly just a grinding game. Unless of course you're bossing, in which case it kind of requires you to, know what you're doing. But do we even have any Christians in here? Is there any fucking person who believes in God?
Nope.
Nobody in here?
That's sad. We need some Christians to beat up. I mean,
Let's see here. Hoping to get some people. I mean, I'm sure I'll get some.
I'm hoping like that I'm watching your stream is increasing maybe a bit your watcher.
Maybe, I don't know. It don't bother me none. I don't care.
Look at this, that's my YouTube account, RedMac.
Oh, cool. Where's it at? Is it in the event channel?
No, I have written into your chat.
Oh shit, I don't even see that. Oh, okay, cool. Cool. I'll have to keep an eye on that.
By the way, do you have sound on your?
Is there no sound? There definitely should be
No,
sound.
no, there is sound. There is sound.
Yeah,
It was my mistake. I had like the sound on like on the Discord in the main channel, and I was hearing myself, and it was really disappointing.
Oh yeah, you gotta mute yourself. You gotta mute the stream, 'cause you're in it.
Yeah, but I had it open in the web browser and also in Discord. And I was not remembering it was open in Discord. Is that little character you, or are they both are you?
Hmm?
I mean, which one of them are you?
Oh, this dude right here.
And the other one?
That's another player. We're just whopping at some. I should probably turn down the fucking game sound. Now that I think about it, it's probably gonna be really
Womp.
annoying. I'll
You
put
guys
on.
playing? You all playing Borderlands? Oh no, that's
No.
just Captain Greasy.
Just playing some.
No, he's not playing Borderlands.
Playing
He's playing
some
RuneScape.
Run Escape.
Run Escape, yeah.
Run
That's so
Escape,
fucking true.
Run
Holy shit.
Escape.
I mean, why you can't play something like Walheim? I mean, we
Bro,
could play together.
I just read such a depressing paper. Apparently we know exactly where the fucking labyrinth is. The Egyptian government just... Apparently they fucked it.
Around 2 a.m. I have to go to sleep.
Very sad. Apparently it's just sitting there because they built a dam on like a swan. Apparently the labyrinth is just getting flooded now. And they don't want to fucking tell anybody about it. That's really fucking sad.
Amender, I think you should, make a rule in the server to stop people from giving medical advice.
That's
What
already
kind
a
of medical
TOS thing.
advice?
That's already a TOS. It's a person just being a fucking idiot. Like it's literally just Fuchio.
What's he saying? Don't get vaccinated or something like that.
He was saying that like, oh, depression, you can just kind of like resist it. I'm like, yeah. No.
I mean, so
no,
like it's not
we're not doing
resisting. It's not well, it's not so like it's not
We're
resisting
streaming!
it.
Fuck me, dude.
Oh, I was just gonna say with
Okay.
like cognitive behavioral therapy, like it's about teaching yourself tools, right? And mental practices and mental habits so that you don't get to that place. Like once you're there, there's no really resisting, right? But you can do things to make yourself like before you even get depressed, like or feel those feelings of depression. You can do things throughout your day to like try and mitigate that. And that's like what cognitive behavioral therapy tries to do. And then obviously like if that doesn't work, then you generally move on to medication. But I will not prescribe anybody anything here.
Good job, proud of you, proud of you.
But like that's where that concept of like just resist it comes from, because like yeah, some people can do cognitive behavioral therapy and like kind of get out of their depression. They don't need Xanax, but like everybody's different. Everyone's brain chemistry is different. So
See, that's a more respectable take. That isn't just go take a walk, bro.
yeah, exactly. Like
You'll
we can
notice that that position does not say don't talk to a professional.
be yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
bruh.
What he was saying is essentially shit like, if you feel sad, go to Chuck E. Cheese and feel happy.
Based.
Wait, that
Let's
doesn't
go
work.
play some Pong, bro. Let's go
Chuck
play
E. Cheese
Pong.
doesn't just give you infinite happiness. It's only me. Oh,
This is
Right,
why
where
I
you can
work.
be a kid.
Yeah, I just work at Chuck E. Cheese now.
I just Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Inundated by joy.
If I
And
go
meaning.
to Chuck E. Cheese, I can never be depression. So I win.
I win.
What if I become the rat from Chuck E. Cheese? Do I ascend?
Then you become a god.
Rat.
Then you become a god. Yeah. And then in like 3,000 years, when archaeologists come back and look at it, they're gonna find us worshiping you as the fucking rat from Chuck E. Cheese and think that was our religion.
You gotta come in there. Fucking rat comes in. He's gonna be live streaming. He's going, Poggers!
Literally. Bro,
Poggers! She says it like
I've been
like,
like
I'm
getting
not-
super okay. I've been getting
This is
super into like ancient archaeology lately.
Cheese.
But like, I said I've been getting like super into ancient archaeology lately
we got
because
any,
it's
we got any Christians in chat? Religious people? Believe in God?
No.
I mean like
I don't.
I do, but like, dude, this shit makes me like question everything, like the origin of man, all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Like it gets heavy.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be
but
fun.
I've been getting like really into like the humanity was probably pretty advanced like 12,000 years ago, and then the Younger Dryas happened, and like there was a lot of climate change and a lot of floods, and everyone fucking drowned.
You believe that
Like,
shit? Bro.
I do.
I don't-
Bro,
I
you're
do.
gonna
I
throw
don't
your
think
hat in the
that the-
ring. You're about to get fucking wrecked here on live stream.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I'm not
I don't
starting
think that the
until
Africans
6:30.
You're
We'll
not
start
starting
at
until
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah, you gotta wait. Just chill.
fuck.
It's currently
Yeah, I don't think-
6:05,
I
so we're
mean,
just gonna wait
modern,
till 6:30.
like modern social
Maybe you're bothered.
structures in humanity like clearly emerged out of the end of the last glaciation, which is why so many cultures have like a great flood myth, right? 'Cause everything was flooding for like 1,000 years.
Well, we don't know how long it was because the number keeps changing.
What
You can look in.
I don't know offhand, but I'm pretty sure we
Yeah.
have like a pretty precise timeline
So-
of when the last glaciation ended.
It was 12,800 to 11,500, and it's an and that's the estimate of when it happened.
That's pretty precise as far as geological time goes.
Well, it's precise because it's much more recent, and we can, like, for instance, you can see a lot of evidence of it when you look at things like the Grand Canyon, for instance, or other
Yeah.
areas in North of America where the glaciers were, and then when they melted, and you can kind of get an idea for how fast they melted based off of the change. But like, that's where the debate comes in, because some people go, it could have been something like an asteroid smacked the glacier and melted it really fast, or like it was kind of melting and then it reached a tipping point, and then eventually like or like there were a series of really bad floods.
Well, with the last glaciation, I mean, it's Milankovitch cycles, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
understand those.
Yeah, we understand the Milankovitch cycles, but yeah, that's so the thinking is
Cat cam.
the archaeological evidence, I think, is there.
There's the cat cam.
I
I don't-
mean, it's
I think
it's
there's
about
some-
like I mean, with anything in the geological record, right? I mean, there might be some debate about like precise things, but like if you can narrow
Yeah.
down certain events within like 1,000 or some like a millennial
Yeah.
time span, like that's for a geological record, that's pretty precise. Like I think
Yeah.
I would be pretty like if it's
She's messing
oh
with the camera, guys.
such event happened this
Fucking
time
camera.
plus or minus 1,000 years, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty precise.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where
This bitch
I'm
fucking
kind of
camera.
at. But my thing, so like, my thing is looking at like going from the geology then to the archaeology. Like with that in mind, it changes how you look at this, especially when you start looking at Egypt, because there's a lot of shit that is there in the early periods in the tomb of what was it? It's the step pyramid of Dojo. I'm trying to remember who's buried there. But that's early kingdom, right? Or old kingdom. And like that's where all the most advanced vases are. Like are in this specific tomb. There's 20,000 fucking like super advanced granite vases, right? Mohs scale of 9. Right? You literally have to have a diamond tip fucking cutting device to
That's-
cut this shit.
For what culture was that?
Ow,
Egypt.
pepper.
That's what what everyone, and that's what the question is raising now is like, all right, well, how did the Egyptians go from super machine precise vases to shitty alabaster? Like,
Well, the simple answer is that they didn't.
yeah, it's that they
there's-
inherited it.
No, I mean that there were no super duper uber cutting tools.
But there's evidence for them,
Well,
and
I
that's
mean,
the issue.
I would
is,
like to see it, but just because we don't know exactly how they did it doesn't mean that it was diamond tip tools. They didn't have access to that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying is we don't know how they did it. Like that's part of the issue is they're doing things that are technologically impossible for them,
Like
and yet
what?
we're ascribing these
Wait.
things to them.
Well, I
Well,
think a
it's
lot of these conversations about like
technologically
Egypt and other
impossible.
societies, like in the past, and it's like, oh, this big thing that they built or whatever. It's like, how did they do that? It seems impossible. The real answer is that they did it over like 5 generations, right?
Yeah, but
Basically, yes.
some of the yeah, and that makes sense for like the Alabaster Middle Kingdom stuff. Like you can move that stuff because we're talking about 100 tons, 160 tons. But then you look at the really old stuff made of granite. That stuff's like 1,000. You can't move that with wood. Like wood sinks into the ground. Wood literally is crushed under that weight. Right. So that's part of the issue. Is like there's no way to move some of this shit, especially because like they don't have levers or pulleys or anything like that. Like they didn't use anything like that. Apparently they just had sleds and pulled shit around.
I mean, they had
Or
the
they
Nile
just
too,
carried
right? I
it.
mean, that was like a big way that they moved. They moved most things like on the river, right?
Yeah, but how do you get it? How do you get
Oh,
it
hey,
from the
Stan.
quarry, which is a mile away from the
A
river?
shit ton of people and a long time.
That's basically how they did it. There's more evidence for that than there is for
they
diamond
wouldn't-
tools or a gravity beam or something.
I don't believe in like the gravity beam or anything like that. I just think they had some other shit they were.
Given enough manpower and time, no matter how tedious it is, you can move something like that from A to B. It just might take years, which is probably what happened.
But you wouldn't be able. Like, there's
Based on our current models, yeah, you wouldn't be able to, but they
you
figured
wouldn't
out
be
a
able
way
to.
do it, because
And-
otherwise
and that's the
it
thing.
wouldn't be there.
And based off of what we know they did, right? So like, there's inscriptions of different things being built, but the inscriptions of all the things being built are of alabaster and limestone structures. There's no discussion on how, like, in all the inscriptions, right? There's no explanation as to how they moved granite, right?
I mean, what's so
A shit
special
ton
about
of
granite?
people in a long time is the best theory we have.
But what's so special about granite? I mean, like granite.
Granite's a Mohs scale of 9. It's incredibly hard.
Really?
I mean,
because it
yeah,
seems to
but
crumble
again-
all over the place around here. We have tons of granite, and it pulverizes itself into sand. Like everything, all the sand around here is granite. Like you can chip it with a rock, and fucking chunks come off of it. I don't know what you mean.
That
by
would be quartz. Then that would be like a granite quartzite. There's a difference between granite quartz or just quartz, right? Which can be like granite-y or have like basically be like granite, but it's different.
I need to get my girlfriend in on this conversation. She's literally a geologist. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
This, but she's telling
Yeah.
me this shit all the time.
Granite's a Mohs scale of 9.
Yeah, granite is immensely hard, like you said, but again, a shit ton of people and time is the most probable theory. We have more evidence, there's infinitely more evidence for that than saying that the Gloppengorbans from Neptune gave them the ass fissures beam that magically constructed the pyramids. Like,
I don't think that. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that whatever technology existed to, and this is the thing, like, I'm thinking about currently is right now is like, if there were a cataclysmic event right now, how much stuff would survive, right? Of our current, of
Not a
like our
whole
current
lot.
infrastructure, not a whole, and that thought then makes you go, okay, shit. So like, how much evidence would there be after 12,000?
I mean, there would. I mean, obviously, like any advanced culture, like just to hone in on one thing, right? Like any advanced culture would have to, in order to get to that point where I think you're implying like some degree of technological advancement, they would have had to have developed metallurgy. That stuff survives, for millions of years. Like machine
Not if it's
pieces of iron and stuff, like underground, buried. In
So,
the sand.
and this is where the inheritance argument comes. So what the people who are arguing for an older humanity would say is that metal being inherently rare, right, means that anything metal is going to be highly, highly valuable and most likely reused. Especially if you have a collapse in civilization, right? Your metal's going to get reused. You're not going to have much evidence of the metal still being there. So that's
Wait, what do you mean? I mean, are you suggesting society collapses? You have all these metal tools, they fall into the ground and get buried, and then like a new civilization comes up, and they just so happen to find all of that and dig it up, and we don't have any evidence
not
of it
necessarily. No,
in
no,
the geological record at all.
no. That's not what I'm claiming.
Because if previous cultures had developed metallurgy like sooner than we expected them to have done that, like we would absolutely like find evidence of that somewhere.
Yeah. So, yeah, my big thing is just the granite. I don't have an explanation for the granite.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things we don't have necessarily like hard explanations about. I don't really see that as being an issue. We just don't have we don't have explanation. That means that we just don't have an explanation.
Yeah.
We're gonna start in about 15 minutes, guys. So we'll see what goes on.
Yeah, you would like where I live. There's a tons of places you got in the desert. There's like I don't even know how old, like 5,000-year-old like petroglyph sites that are fucking awesome. And a lot of those are carved into granite. Not all
What
of
is?
them. A lot of them are like in red rock
Sorry.
and stuff. But yeah, they're super sweet. There's tons of them around this part of the country.
Which one? Wait, what were you talking about? Sorry, my.
No, just like out west, like in the Intermountain West, like Utah, Nevada, Arizona. There's like tons of like old petroglyph sites. You stumble
yeah.
upon them all the time when you're out in the desert, and they're fucking sweet.
Yeah, those are really cool. But like those aren't like that's the thing. So for instance, apparently was it Chris Dunn got his hands on a granite vase, and they did a LiDAR scan on it and found that all of its dimensions were accurate to 1,000th of an inch. So it's perfectly flat to 1/1000th of the inch on top. I'll send you guys the video. It's just really weird.
I mean, I guess that sounds impressive. I'm not educated enough in archaeology to know just how impressive that is.
It's very impressive. We can't make these vases today, for context.
Really? I mean, maybe not.
Yes.
Like just in general, or out of frame.
No, we cannot make
Bro,
them to
what
the
are you
same
talking
to the
about?
same scale.
That's not.
You cannot
I mean,
you cannot make a granite vase 1/1000th of an inch perfect, right? In all its dimensions, right? Both X, Y, and Z, right? It's perfectly relative, like 1/1000th of an inch. Every single dimension is perfectly relative to each other by 1/1000th of an inch. We
sure
cannot
we could
create
do
that
that.
we could. The problem is
Where
we
are you
can't
getting this
do it.
information, dude?
We
I
can't
just
do
feel
it
like we just
at
don't.
one.
Where are you getting this
Could want-
information?
We can't do it at 1/40th of an inch.
Where
That's
are you
the
getting
thing. The
this
thickness
information?
of the vases. I just posted the video.
Don't we
So they
like make
scanned
it
a
Pull up a
pre-dynastic
video on
granite
YouTube.
vase.
That's how you determine that there's no
Yeah,
way that we can
because
do
it's
that.
a bunch of archaeologists that
Don't we make like granite
Bro,
countertops
it's fucking
to
bullshit.
those-
we do make
those
granite
tolerances all the
countertops.
time?
No,
and
I
shit?
call fucking bullshit. I call bullshit. First of all, you're looking at a fucking YouTube video. This is not how you fucking determine whether or not something's true or fake. Anybody can make a fucking YouTube video about anything. That's ridiculous. Are you serious?
But they have. Yeah, I'm serious. They provided the STL file. They provided the LiDAR file. They provided all the evidence when they did this, and this was also part of a published paper. So like it's a YouTube
then
video,
show
yes,
the
but
published
it's
paper.
they haven't finished the paper yet. They're in the
okay,
process
so there's
of
no
publishing.
paper. Got it.
It's gonna go
Alright.
along.
And what is this?
Well,
That sounds unpublished to me.
Uncharted X? What
That's
is
cool.
this?
that's just the
it-
guy's YouTube channel. Ben
Who is
Kerwick,
Uncharted
smart
X?
guy. Ben Kerwick is his.
I mean, I'm just looking like online at Google Images. I'm seeing like I just googled like granite decoration statue. and,
Pre-dynastic
we
granite
make,
vase.
I mean, we make tons of stuff like that today, and I mean,
I
don't know,
I
like,
should
I
also
haven't scanned
point
it.
out, in order to make like a vase with like really good geometric shape, you really just need a spinning disc and then like something to hold it along the side
Yeah.
to mold the clay. And as long as it's pretty
It's not-
stationary,
what?
you're gonna get very
No. You
precise...
think that's pottery. That's pottery, my guy. This is granite. You don't mold granite. Cut granite.
Okay, you could do the same thing. You would still be
No,
able to
you-
grind it down. What are you talking about?
Well, you can't because of the
You
lugs
can't
on the
grind
side
down
of it.
granite?
No, you can't
No
turn
one's
it.
ever grinded
There's-
down granite? Can't turn
No, you-
granite? It stops
No, you
turning when you
can't-
turn it.
Well, yeah, because you would break the lugs on the side of it off if you were turning it.
What does that make?
That's
that
what's
doesn't
really
make any
interesting
sense.
about if
Do you know how I know that this shit, like, okay, what are you assuming that it is? What could it be?
I don't know. I'm just saying whatever it is, the Egyptians didn't have it and it was a lot older.
So what do you, so you don't know what it is? We just know
No
some
clue.
sort of way that they like do the thing and then that's
They
it.
did something.
Okay.
Somebody did something and it happened and we don't know how it happened. That's why I find it so interesting is because I mean they come up with like some of them come up with like crazy theories.
What was the one where like a guy, there was like this guy who had like figured out how the Easter Island heads were done? I mean, they're like several tons a piece, right? And they don't have any like real equipment to be able to like lug these items around. But it actually turns out with just a little bit of ingenuity and like understanding how leverage and fulcrums work, you can actually do exactly what the Easter Island people
Yeah.
did. That's like one example.
But
where
those
it was,
are
like people
way-
like assumed like incredible things. That
Yeah, but
is really
that's-
far more mundane at the end of the day.
Yeah, but that's way different compared to just the size of some of the things the Egyptians have.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't even come close.
I mean, I
the
think it
size
just
of
seems kind
the
of
things Egyptians
unfathomable,
have.
but my intuition is that they're like just the simple answer is that yeah, they did that with like a long fucking time, like multiple upon like compounding generations of working on it and tons of people. Like that's I think
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
I would
force answer.
agree as well. I just don't think the Egyptians did it. I
Well, who
think
do
it
you
was.
do you think it was somebody like who do you think did it?
I just think it was whatever culture was before the Egyptians. We don't have anything about them.
So just
The,
like
the Egyptians, we have no
proto-Egyptians?
information
Is it-
about the
Is
Egyptians.
this like is this
Well-
like an Etruscan
What are you talking
Roman
about?
thing or like
No, I'm saying like maybe not whoever came thousands of years before the Egyptians, because it wouldn't have exactly been proto-Egyptians.
like Etruscans with Rome? That
Yeah,
sort of thing?
yeah, like that kind of thing. Yeah, like the Etruscans are not Rome in any sense, and then the Romans ended up fighting the Etruscans anyways at a certain point. So
I mean, like the Mesopotamians, like
I don't know. I don't. Then like
India,
that's
there
the
was
thing.
ancient
I think
India.
my only thing is I don't think my only point is that we shouldn't be attributing all of this to Egypt. Like I just don't
know.
think they could
Nobody's
have done it.
attributing all of it to Egypt. I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
What is all of this? What does that mean?
All of the archaeological finds in Egypt are necessarily ancient Egyptian, like Old Kingdom to Ptolemy.
What do you
Right.
think it is?
I think it was somebody older than that. I think it could be
You
like
understand that the Egyptians are roughly 3,500 to 4,000 years old, right?
yeah.
Like
I think
what
it-
we consider the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire considered the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? Is there any archaeological evidence that it could be something else?
There's
Like what?
So the evidence basically goes that it's clear from hieroglyphs and inscriptions that Egyptians didn't build a lot of these things, right? And
That's not true.
these granite vases come from pre-dynastic tomb, right? And then after the pre-dynastic period, right? We're talking super early Egypt. All of this granite disappeared, just completely. It all moves
So how
to
do you know
pottery.
it exists?
They
I
go
don't know,
backwards
dude,
in
you're saying
technology.
a bunch of generalizations where it's like you have no locations, you have no like
In
concept of
the
like where things are.
and
Like,
the
what are you
step
talking
tomb
about?
of Doja, the step tomb of Doja,
Step
right?
tomb of Doja. What is that?
All right. In this or Joser, excuse me.
Joser?
Josa. Yeah, Joser, not Josa.
Joser.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up, but I don't know what the fuck you're talking
Okay.
about, my dude.
In the step pyramid of Joser, which we estimate to be very, very early, right? 2600 BC, right?
Okay.
This is where all of the granite vases are found. There are no granite vases found anywhere else. It is
Okay.
just in this pyramid and some of the earlier ones.
What is the what is the significance of there being a granite vase? And also, we have to
20,000
look-
granite vases.
Granite vase, Egypt.
20,000. Yes, there's 20,000
Locations.
granite vases in the step pyramid of Djoser. And then after that, there are no more granite vases.
So someone in that time period figured out how to work with
He
granite.
hoarded.
The end.
Well, no. So
Like, what else is there to say? Why
that he
wouldn't-
that those granite that those vases existed before him. Also, it wouldn't make sense that the technology just disappeared, without anything happening. But point being, those vases exist, and they probably existed before, Djoser, right? And they were probably all hoarded by the king, who was buried in Djoser, right? So, you know, kings like to have all the nice things, so they take all the nice things and they bury themselves with it all. And like after that, you just don't see any more granite vases. Like granite just kind of
Well, yeah.
disappears. Like nobody's
yeah.
using granite anymore.
Like, yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm
The
saying.
Egyptians go backwards in technology as
Okay,
they
well, that's-
increase in power.
So, because of this super symmetrical, beautiful vase, you are saying that
20,000 of
the-
them. There's
well,
not just one.
I mean,
like that's the other
when,
thing.
when were the Great Pyramids made?
We don't know. We can guess, but there's no carbon dating stone.
Roughly
Stone
2550 to
exists in the
2490
earth for
BC. So this is
1,000.
actually older than what you're talking about. Because
There's
the
no
pyramid
what,
of
the pyramid of
Djoser,
Djoser?
no, the pyramid of Djoser is
Yeah, it's old. It's the oldest. It's one of the oldest. That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay.
Is
It's about 100.
that's what I'm
okay, fair
saying
enough.
is
it's 100 years
is-
older. It's 100 years
Well,
older than the Great Pyramids.
I don't know exactly how they dated the Great Pyramids. Obviously, there's no carbon dating of pyramids, but you know there's like tons of other methods of radiometric dating. that
So-
use rock.
They don't use
we
radiometric
date?
because of CZ exposure. We can't really figure it out anymore. Ever since we set off nukes,
we're
it's
about
really
to start
hard
in
to
1
figure
minute,
out.
guys. We're about to start
Unless
in 1 minute.
unless
get-
a rock
can I-
hasn't been exposed, then you may be able to figure it out.
Okay, can I get a point in real quick?
But the way
You
they
got like a
date
minute,
the
dude.
pyramid of Giza is there's an inscription, and this is one of the things that pharaohs are notorious for, is graffitiing the fuck out of everything and saying they built something when they didn't. You see this, you'll literally see like statues and all kinds of things with multiple kings' names on them. And they'll try and erase each other's names and say, I built this, and they did that shit all the time. So part of the problem, though, with Giza is the only dating of it they have is from some biological material about a mile away, and the fact that what's his name is near the pyramid. But that's not good evidence.
All right, so we're going to get started now. So what we're doing right now is this is the God is illogical debate. So we're going to go back and forth regarding like God is illogical debate. There is going to be interruption. There is going to be name calling. There's going to be instances where normally our server does not allow, such as name calling and interruption. But in this particular event, it is designed to be a blood sport. Let us have this back and forth, and I am telling you, God is illogical. God doesn't make any sense. The Abrahamic God, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam is all wrong. It is illogical. It doesn't make any sense. It's a load of bullshit, and I don't think you can prove me wrong. I really don't.
Can I
This
respond to
fucking bullshit. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mouse.
that? All right. If I'm taking God to mean just the creator deity, like not just an Abrahamic God, right?
Yep.
All
You can
right.
do
And
that, sure.
secondly, logic. When you say it's not logical, you mean reasonable, right?
When I say it is not logical, meaning it doesn't rely into the properties that are
I'm already hating this definition.
what the fuck do you want from me?
A definition.
I mean, I'm going to use a general vernacular. If I could just Google search logical definition.
You could, bro. You could use a computer.
Of
This
or
isn't a
according to the
great
rules
math
of
test.
logic in a formal argument. Okay, moving forward.
All right.
Premise
My
plus
point
premise
is, what
equal
is reasonable?
conclusion.
All right. If let's say you're some medieval peasant or whatever the fuck you are, right? Well, isn't it reasonable to be like everything I've ever seen living had something spawn it, right? Isn't it logical to believe that all right, something had to spawn humanity? Like even if you don't think it's right, it's not like a illogical assumption, like a crazy leap in logic.
It is a leap in logic. And the reason why is because there exists us, right? But you are making the inference that it must be God. I don't think that it is God. I'm saying that we don't have that evidence for it. And to apply that it is God, it's not a logical premise because you have no evidence to show that it is God.
Right? The lack of evidence is one thing, sure, but it's okay. We don't necessarily need evidence for every single thing we believe. Like,
No, you
come on.
don't. There's a certain amount of inductive reasoning that I would agree with you. Obviously, we have to like assume that senses are real. There's concepts of like, reality is reality. 1 + 1 = 2. We live in a Euclidean geometry world. All of these things are effectively assumed, and that we cannot really infer outside of it because everything just starts to break down in terms of like a logic. You have to like understand concept of object, for example, in order to like describe that object and start describing that object. And so, yes, it is inferred. So in order to establish any deductive logic, it requires an inductive reasoning, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So, but my thing here though is, to me, one would argue that God is just assigning like a lot intelligence to like the Big Bang or something, saying that whatever create the universe did so with a reason or had like some kind of motive behind it. Which again, you can disagree with it. I'm not even arguing that that's right or fucking smart, but I'm just saying I'm curious as to where it rings as illogical for you to believe that there might be more to, like, for somebody to believe that it might be more to the birth of the universe.
Yeah, there's no evidence for it in any way,
Okay, I
shape, or
thought we just
form.
agreed that
And
evidence isn't
so if there's
necessarily.
again, like there needs to be something. There needs to be some predictive measure. There needs to be literally anything. Show me anything that God exists. Anything at all. And
Well,
I will flip my entire argument and say God is real. I won't
that's not what I'm
even
asking of you.
waste my time.
I'm not trying to argue that there's evidence for God or anything like that. I'm just simply saying that the belief isn't inherently illogical, because if me and you can both agree that the Big Bang is something that happened, right?
So far of what we know in terms of
Mm.
science, yes, it does appear
All right.
that the Big Bang happened.
And if I'm a theist, I'd say that the Big Bang happened because some force probably made it happen, and that force is the creator deity,
You
right?
don't
Like
know
that's
that.
our God.
You
I
don't know
mean,
that. The mathematics
Of course
behind
we
it
don't
is
know that.
asymptotic. You can't possibly sit there and say that you know that.
and
Okay, I didn't say I
No.
knew.
Do you know what I mean by asymptotic?
When we talk about
No.
the fact that if like the whole universe was made from this big bang of an intelligent design, why is there only one planet with life that is sustainable and it's covered with how much percentage of salt water we can't fucking drink? Real intelligent design, my guy.
I'm not
Real
arguing,
intelligent design.
I'm not arguing that God is real.
We can drink out. We would
All right, I'm not arguing that God is real. I'm simply
Percentage
arguing
of
that
the percentage of amount of the earth covered in salt water versus
we have machines to process.
okay, but we didn't have that. We didn't have that. We
Okay.
we do have that now, and that's
But
great.
the thing
I
is,
mean,
all right, I'm not
like,
arguing that
I mean,
God is real.
I guess
Still
like
think
some
what I think you
people-
get my point.
I've heard some
I'm
people sit
simply
down and
arguing-
argue.
I'm simply
But,
arguing
like-
that belief.
I've heard some people sit
Hold
down
up.
and argue positions that that the universe has been designed in such a way where it's effectively perfect. Well, what I find interesting in order to facilitate life, the problem that I'm having with that is that when we observe the planets around us, all of them are either too hot, too cold, too much pressure, too low pressure, not containing any of the gases that we need in order to survive. It's in almost every single situation outside of Earth. In fact, most of Earth is completely uninhabitable to humans. Almost
Guys.
all of it is completely uninhabitable. The fact that
Listen.
we're sitting here on certain portions of the planet and sit there and say that the universe is designed for us is
That's
horribly
not what
insane.
I said. All right, y'all arguing past me.
All
I'm
right,
not
go
arguing
ahead.
that
Go ahead,
God
Mouse.
is
What's
real.
your
I'm
argument?
simply saying that the belief isn't inherently unreasonable. And the reason I say it's not inherently unreasonable is because we all want to know what spawned the universe or something. What I'm just saying, why believing that whatever spawned the universe might have done so with intelligence is just crazy as fuck to you. It's
Wasn't
like,
that what
You're
again,
making the implication that it does exist. I'm saying that like it could exist with evidence.
Hold up. I'm sorry,
pause.
but like you
But
could
again,
also
this is a matter of like again going down to the
let me
level
say
that
this
it's
and I'll
not
shut up
that
for
it
20
doesn't really exist until we show otherwise.
So okay,
So
so
to
you're
believe
saying
in it is illogical at this point. It doesn't make
So
any
you're saying-
sense.
okay. So what you're saying is there's no evidence for it existing, right? So the belief in it is illogical, right?
Yes.
And isn't by definition like having faith in something means like you believe in it even without reason or logic?
Yes.
Like, that's
Yeah,
having faith
Exactly.
literally,
That's what I'm saying.
I
It's
think you're
illogical.
you-
It doesn't
alright.
make any sense. You throw it
I
out.
think it would be.
You take
I
the
would think it
fucking
would be.
idea and throw it out.
I think it would be more accurate to say that believing that God exists is 100% a fact is illogical. But when I say believing in God, I don't take that to mean that you believe it's 100% undisputed that God exists.
What?
You
So
believe at
that
least
again?
only.
Wait,
say that again?
do you believe in God or do you not believe in God?
Me?
It sounds like
God
it sounds.
exists.
Do I believe
like-
God exists?
He believes. He
And,
believes in
all right,
the
it really
creator.
doesn't matter because that's not what I'm arguing. I'm only
Yeah.
arguing that the belief itself isn't illogical.
Okay, so if there's no evidence to back for something,
hmm
but you still somehow believe in it, you're saying that
So
could be potentially considered as logical?
the first thing we figured out is that we don't necessarily need evidence to believe something. And I'm saying that somebody can draw a conclusion based on their experience saying that, okay, the universe got here somehow. And everything they've seen, the universe got here somehow. Perhaps whatever created the universe had an intellect behind it, right?
Well, Mouse,
If you're
I
willing to
believe it's
believe-
logical to believe in leprechauns.
Okay.
Wait, I
Sure.
believe in leprechauns. Wait, what are you talking about? Have you
Do you
checked
believe
every
in a
bush
Big
in
Bang theory?
Ireland? Wait, Mouse, have
believe
you
in a
checked
Big
every
Bang
bush
theory?
in Ireland?
Exactly, your
Fascinating.
lived experience in Ireland.
Wait, what? No, but hold on. Like, you could have lived in Ireland, but you didn't check every bush in Ireland, did you?
Mhm.
So
You're good at that.
obviously, right? Like, I believe in leprechauns,
I
and you
did.
can't show me that leprechauns don't exist.
I checked every bush in Ireland.
They're
It
just
was
really fast. You're not fast
Doesn't
enough.
sound logical.
But the thing
No, I
is,
did
the
it
difference
over 30
between
years.
God and leprechauns is There's a lot.
You just
It's a
weren't
lot harder
fast
to
enough.
prove or disprove God.
No, the difference is that the scale is larger, but the reality is that the logic is basically the same. We don't assume that leprechauns exist because the basic physical reality does not allow the leprechaun to exist. We know
This
for
is
a
why
fact,
I argue.
we know for a fact that rainbows and light does not work that way. We know for a fact that this elusive creature cannot place a fucking pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. That is not how light works.
But that's not connected to
Light
what we're
does not
talking
work
about.
that way.
You're just
Going back to the leprechaun itself.
It was revealed to me in a dream.
Show me
It
a
was revealed to me in
skeleton
a
of a
dream.
leprechaun. Show me
we're
something that shows that the
immortal.
leprechaun
Why are we
exists.
talking about leprechauns?
All right, y'all. This is getting.
No, I'm trying.
This has
I'm trying
nothing to
to
do with what we're
understand.
talking about.
I'm just saying it doesn't make
I'm
any
trying to bring it
fucking
back.
sense.
No, I'm trying to
I
bring it
bought
back
my
right
gaming
now. Hang on.
computer with help from a leprechaun's pot of gold, so checkmate, liberals.
Okay.
Right.
But the thing
I'm
is,
trying to bring it back. I don't understand his argument. You claim that it's illogical to believe in a higher creator in a sense, and there's necessarily need to be. We can call it a god. We call it alien force. We call it something that's higher and advanced than us. Is not possible in the realm of reality. And people have said that when we look out for a majority of our very small field, like mass, out of the mass universe we have, that's ever expanding currently. Which are getting farther apart to even go explore, that there's not a probability of a higher civilization that properly created us. Is that what you're trying to argue?
What's the probability of that?
Well, so hold on. Can we back up for a second real fast? Because
Your mom.
No, because the way that the immense distances that exist between stars is so immense that I don't think that this is even possible. It has a physical limitation problem. And I don't think by
but that's assuming that the deity actually has.
I don't know how you cause
the
like
physical
an
limitations
ability of
they impose on the creation.
bridging
no, it's not one of a
between
time.
two.
He literally said.
Yeah, it's literally interrupt each other.
Yeah,
literally just this is a blood sport. It's gonna be a tornado.
But hold up.
Hey, nigger sex.
But hold up, Amender.
You're asking. We're not fucking doing that.
Amender, yeah,
we're not doing that.
Hard R was not
that.
Yeah, that was not.
We don't like that.
But I think part of the issue is, Amender, you're coming from the perspective of asking us to prove your counterfactual, but for a lot of deists, they would ask you to prove their counterfactual that God doesn't in fact exist.
No.
Well, but that's what I'm saying was from a phenomenological.
Yes,
let me finish.
An atheist does not make a single claim. It is actually the religious person that makes the claim. The religious person says there is a God. No, I made no claim. There is no claim there.
You're claiming that something isn't there.
No. Well, there you go. There's no claim. Exactly.
It's not a
that's the
legit
point.
argument.
So hold on, what I'm asking is that you need to
like
show somehow that there
something isn't there.
Rather specifically, that it is illogical to assume that the God exists because there is no evidence to show that that God is there to begin with. We just simply make the logic. My question is, why don't you believe in Celtic? Why don't you believe in Huitzilopochtli?
Mermaids.
Why don't you believe in Huitzilopochtli?
What is Huitzilopochtli? I don't even know what the hell that is.
The Aztec god of war and fire. So let's talk about that. Why don't you believe in Huitzilopochtli right now, Celtic?
Because I haven't found his book, but if you could point me to his
scribes. I want to hear
scribes.
Celtic tell me why you don't believe in Huitzilopochtli.
Because I think he's a personification of somebody.
Of what?
Probably somebody who actually existed.
You believe in Jesus?
No. So Huitzilopochtli is a god of war.
Yeah.
Right?
He's probably based off of somebody who actually existed
around
in
the
their culture.
1480s in Mexico.
Right,
so my question to you is this: why don't you, a Westerner, probably born in the United States in the 20th century, why don't you believe in Huitzilopochtli?
He lives in Ireland with the other leprechauns.
Because. Well, because I just don't believe in the deification of humans.
Too bad, I'm interrupting.
It's not a human, it's a god. It was never implied that it is ever a human, it's a god.
Comparing God to fictional things.
But you said he actually
Oh, wait, why is that one fictional?
But
No,
why is
hang on.
Zeus fictional?
First,
Your
first,
mom
Why is
is
Huitzilopochtli fictional?
Amanda, you're arguing against
Why are the
basics of
coyote
God.
gods fictional? Why are those
Amanda,
fictional?
listen, Amanda,
Stop
you're arguing
over-talking
against the
each
God.
other.
Amanda, you're arguing against God being real in and of itself. When we're just
He's
trying
saying
to
he's
understand
arguing that
the
it's
belief
Christian.
is not
He's arguing that
illogical.
it's a Christian
And all
God,
we're saying,
if there
Amanda,
is one.
all we're saying is that those are two different things. You're thinking of the God as some inherently supernatural thing.
Yeah, it is. That's the problem I have.
I don't think that's universal to the phenomenology.
No,
of
it very
human
much
beings. I
is
think
universal.
changes.
The concept
Alright,
of
don't
God is
consider the
quite
big-
often
listen.
a supernatural being.
It is quite often a supernatural thing, but some would say God is simply the Big Bang or some shit like that.
No, they don't.
No, but like
I'm saying it right now. Doesn't
now
that
they say it
no,
because
but like
scientists are on the
Eastern
rise.
African phenomenology is incredibly different from Islamic phenomenology.
All right,
I
but
mean,
First of all, you
the
don't
way
know what
we
that
my
word
whole
means.
point was
Stop
that-
using that word. You
the
don't know
way
what it
that
means.
the deity interacts with reality can change
So the
drastically
description
from
hang on.
culture
So
to
the
culture.
description
So
of a god is a creator or ruler of the universe, a source of all morality, authority, a supreme being, a superhuman being, worship, or having power, nature over fortune, or identity in a sense. So technically, in the first definition, it falls in underlying believing that advanced civilization could, with higher tech than us, could be a creator of us. And it's not. So I think your issue.
That's not
is
God.
You're looking
What
at a deity of
predictive
human
power
deity.
does this knowledge have? Let's assume what you're saying
ahead.
is 1,000% true. What predictive knowledge does it possess?
Predicted knowledge. What? I'm going off the thing of probability.
Okay, so what we do is that when we have a claim, what happens is that if we want to know if that claim is really true, like we don't know it's true, it's a hypothesis, we want to go ahead and see, okay, there's got to be a way to falsify it. I bet if I look XYZ here, based off of this knowledge, I will find this because obviously this is true.
We don't have any evidence
What predictability do you have on that basis, assuming it's true?
Right. We just don't have the technology to
the only
measure.
experience.
Okay, so
It'd
none.
be
We have
purely
no way to
experiential. Yeah, it would be
determine this.
experiential
Okay,
and
gotcha.
phenomenology.
Can we define what God is? Like,
Gotcha.
So this is why this is a
so
thesis.
I'm asking you, Fallen Soldier, why don't you believe in Huitzilopochtli?
I inherently don't believe that human entities. What do you mean?
No, it's not a human entity. It is a god.
And that's tech God.
All right,
Yeah,
but
it is
Amanda,
independent
you do
of any
understand that
human
something
entity.
can be logical
It is a
without
god.
really being
I views.
It's a dead civilizations God from Aztec.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why? Why don't we right now? Why don't all of us believe in Huitzilopochtli? I don't
We
understand.
don't need to be because
science
scientists
in Ireland with the rest of the leprechauns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because obviously,
so
there's
you
a God
don't
who's
have
Christian,
to believe. You don't have to believe the traditional deityism of the human of Earth. You can revolve around science as well as being making a rational decision of what we know now, and you can simply say that those people who inherently thought those were deists were either tricked or multiplied that, but like on a universal basis and on probability.
So you would say that they are wrong, right? Would you say that they are wrong?
Sure,
okay,
yeah,
but your God is correct. That's the right.
No, I don't.
We figured it
I don't
out.
think,
we
no,
got
not
it.
at all. I just say that I'm not claiming a religion. I'm claiming advanced civilization could possibly. You're ruling out it's inherently a thesis.
So
altogether.
here's what I find really interesting. Depending on the time and place that you are born on Earth, actually determines roughly what you end up worshiping. Huh, interesting. So it turns out if you were born in 1480 or 1470 in Mexico, the chances of you worshiping Huitzilopochtli is quite high. Now, if you were born in 600 BC in Rome, the chances of you worshiping Zeus is quite high. If you were born in India, the chances of you worshiping the Buddha is quite high.
Say 600 BC.
Yeah, your argument is tied to ethnicities. Is what your issue is. You're not your whole basis of argument is not based on other factual matters. There's a different belief system now.
I'm saying based on the time and place determines what you worship, which tells me there is no one true God. What I think it is just people making shit up, trying to explain things that don't make sense. Because if that was the case, if it was like a cultural thing, If it was cultural, then what we should see is that separation that we're able to observe based off of geographical location and time. There's no consistency. Can you imagine for a moment that the fucking conquistadors that came with their Bibles went over to the New World, and then they were like, "Oh, we're going to show you a Bible," and then the tribesman says, "Oh, look, he's got a Bible. Look, Saul could have used a Bible. Thank you. Yes, my Bible was looking rather famished. Now I am glad to have this new Bible."
Why are you arguing not my argument?
I'm saying like, if there was a one true God, then it should be consistent, but it's not. It's not.
You don't think he'd be wearing a
God.
cross necklace? He wouldn't be wearing a cross
No
necklace.
one here, nor did I argue a one true God.
Whopper,
No one argued it. You legitimately are arguing against a ghost. You're arguing against yourself. No one claimed these claims.
If
You're
there is
making
a
these
God that influenced civilization, like what you are talking about, that would technically be a one God, right?
No, it could be multiple entities, higher civilization.
How do they
what are you
travel
talking about?
between stars?
I don't know.
Okay, so we have no evidence or any object to know that this is possibly true. You're just throwing a fucking random dart into the dark and hoping that it hits
advanced
something.
civilizations aren't God. That's just an advanced civilization.
But to us, we would claim that to be God.
We would? I don't know.
So
to me, all the religious people describe a weird guy in the sky who's not about the Big Bang, but about.
It's a similar situation when North America troops went over to the small islands that were uncivilized during World War II with our planes, and they thought we were gods. And now we have it's similar to that thesis. So a higher advanced technology that we can't understand would be to us gods, because we can't comprehend how they got it. Nor do we have the technology to interact with anything yet. We're still primitive in that sense of like tier 1, tier 3, tier 4 civilization.
Yeah, but not everyone would say it's God. That seems like a weird conclusion.
So like inherently they're like, well, we go here. We can influence. We can influence life into a certain way and bounce out. I mean, it's all I'm saying that your argument is about arguing against the deities on Earth. My argument is that a supreme creator, in a sense of us, could possibly be. I don't have mathematics. It's just entirely a thesis that, but you can argue like the math that designed the Earth, how we rotate around the universe, or whatever you want to do that to, applies the higher creator design.
And you think that in that advanced civilization, they would all have crosses around their necks? Not any other religion that's ever existed?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, that's human. Yeah. So
I don't understand it. So hold on. You're saying that there could be multiple gods, and all of them came forward on their own spaceships, and then influenced each culture, and then differently based off of geography as well as what?
Humans created the false deities what they are. I'm saying that the essence of life, the water thing, the components that we need, multiple minerals create water, which we have, which you know this already, and water has multiple minerals. We're designed.
We're able to observe objects much older than Earth.
Correct.
Or our solar system,
and so then
even the Milky Way galaxy, and still are able to show these very same particles that make up our Earth. Mm-hmm. So what are you talking about?
So we know that influence that the atoms created H2O currently in the water and the minerals came from separate entities currently. Like we don't know where they came from to create the establish of life. That's one scientific.
No, we do know where it came
from.
No,
we know.
Oh my gosh.
We do know where it came from.
They claim that it's asteroids. Possibility was a claim. They claim it could be a higher
No, we
civilization.
know it's asteroids.
Claims with a lot of evidence.
With like a ridiculous amount of evidence. We would need to have something pretty gargantuan to show that is not the case.
And as well, and not only that, is that we are out here trying to observe the universe for a small microscopic and the space shuttles and how we're shooting out into space. And we can't even leave our solar system. There's trillions of solar systems out there. We haven't even looked at.
Do you understand what spectroscopy is?
Go ahead. Explain it to me. I don't know that word, actually.
It's where we are able to observe the way that the light reflects back to us.
Yes,
and then based off of the
light
reflection can actually determine what it is made of.
Yeah,
like colonoscopy.
Yeah, it's similar when the black hole absorbed the star and spit it back out.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It is irrelevant to
Oh.
what I am telling you.
I know. That's the only thing I remember that things happened. I was watching a study on Michael's
I'm taking an astronomy course right now. So what ended up happening is that there was a nebula at first that spun so fast that it ended up flattening out. What ended up happening was all the materials spread out, and that's how you have planets.
Yes. Because how gravity works. Gravity
Yes.
attracts materials. Materials is itself causing the time-space to warp around it. And the more matter you have, the more time-space that gets warped. Right?
Is anyone here super religious?
I don't think no one really is super.
All right, interesting. I would respect religion more generally if
I know
people
Stens
were
is
like.
religious.
Well, I mean,
The argument here
No, he's
came
religious.
was
He hasn't said a peep.
If you believe in God because you're just not sure, like who
you
created the
can't
thing that created
argue.
the
Hang
Big
on, you
Bang
can't
and
argue
stuff
against
like
a
that.
faith-based religion.
Fine.
As simple as that. Like they're making claims based on their own personal preferences. They have the right to claim
This is
that.
my
And
problem, right? It's
even if-
not
Even if
logical.
it's
that-
illogical.
It's not. That's what I'm saying is that God is illogical. It doesn't make sense. I want to see, all I need, right, is whenever there's any kind of claim that there is something that shows opposite to that claim. All I need is one thing, and it could tear the entire thing down. And in which case, I would be like, yeah, all right, yeah, God is real. Now,
You
if
think
we
we're
could
God
show
to other
some
life
sort,
forms?
what?
In a sense,
What?
like to an ant. Do you think they can comprehend us?
Oh, okay, you're saying that like we're like the ants
Yeah, in
to
a
the,
sense.
to the
that's
God.
correct.
Well, great. That's a great analogy. The problem that I'm having with your little analogy is that I'm expecting some sort of evidence to show
I
that
don't have
we're
any
somehow the ants.
What do you mean by
and somehow that
comprehend us?
we're that there's a
science-
human observing us. I feel like ants, if they had the comprehending knowledge, if they had any amount of comprehension, they have very minimal comprehension, that they would be able to understand that, hey, sometimes this foot shows up and it just destroys everything, right?
Do you think we can comprehend? We can't even
So you
comprehend.
could break
ants
that
fully.
down and get to some level of
both
predictability,
ways.
for example. Like, oh, we should probably not set up our fucking thing near a walkway because the big humans come by and they destroy the walkway. But again, this is all on the basis of reality. Somehow this God, who doesn't influence reality in any way, who doesn't show himself, he only reveals himself to people who say they revealed himself to their personal anecdote, and it's also on the basis of geographic time and the location as well. Somehow that this is going to be the correct God. It doesn't make any sense.
Sounds legit.
If you're arguing against religion, then this is not the argument I thought. I thought you were arguing against the definition of possibly higher creator than the definition of God itself.
I want a God. Is there a God? Any God? Anything?
What do you mean?
I was-
He's not arguing against religions. Arguing against religions that believe in God. I mean, I guess that.
I mean, he's arguing against religions on entities, like the definition
even
of God itself.
even
it's
Buddhism
just
that
a higher,
claims no God. Even
a higher
Buddhism
being.
that claims no God it still doesn't make any sense, because at the end of the day, we have no evidence that reincarnation works. We have no evidence that chakra works. We have no evidence that that karma works. None of those things fucking work. We can't show empirically. Dude, look at a guy like Stalin. That dude dies in his fucking. He died of a cardiac arrest. That dude lived his entire fucking life, killed millions of fucking people, and then laid in his fucking. Same thing with Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong died fucking happy. That dude died happy. He killed more people than anyone in civilization ever. Karma doesn't exist.
Stalin
Do you believe
died in
medium?
his own piss.
Do you believe mediums who talk to
Your lip
spirits?
doesn't
They're just
form
bullshit.
bruising. It forms a.
Hmm?
No, it forms abscess. Oh, that was.
I don't know what you're saying.
Do you believe mediums, like people who act like they can talk to like past ones?
No,
Are they just
bullshit.
full of shit?
Bullshit.
It's
all bullshit.
I think it's probably
spirituality.
bullshit.
Spirituality
It might be
is
hallucinating, but-
bullshit. All of it. Anytime that there's when somebody labels something as like spiritual, that means it's not on the basis of empirical. That means it's not fucking real, because we can't show it to be real in any way, shape, or form, nor does it impact anything in real life.
Do you believe though humans have sort of like, biological is a loaded word, but almost like a biological instinct to have a spiritual, side of
there's
them?
dopamine receptors.
There is no dualism. Dualism is not real.
No, the only thing I
feel like
realize is that
humans
the
are
only evidence
spiritual.
humans.
Whatever that means.
Humans are spiritual in general because they need to, I think, a cause and purpose, right? And so maybe an evolution standpoint, we evolved into create, a positive resistance to answer this. So like I don't know,
a survival concept is an ability to be suspicious of your surroundings. Because evolutionarily it was advantageous to be suspicious of your surroundings, meaning the people who were suspicious would avoid these things, whereas people who are not suspicious would end up dying. And so I think over time we have established an aspect of superstition that exists across all human tribes that we observe today. Take, for example, that there could be a tiger in the bush. You could say that there could be a tiger, or there may not be a tiger in the bush, right?
Curiosity
if somebody sits there and says, okay, there's no tiger in the bush, that's fucking bullshit. They go and check in the bush, and then boom, there was not a tiger, there was actually a wolf, and the wolf maims that guy. That guy's dead, right? But the person who was suspicious, hiding behind the hut, and then they're clutching a stick, that person lived, right? They maintained their suspicion, and I think that's kind of why we believe in a lot of superstition today.
I mean, yeah, that's possible. Again, there's a positive receptive response in our brains, right, when people practice religion.
Well, why? How come the biologically?
Like what?
But
have you ever heard of shunning?
Positive.
That's a terrible response.
I'm talking about in the brain, not socially.
Why would there be any evolutionary purpose, though, for our curiosity to extend to the point where we're asking questions like, is there a greater creator? Because that question, how would that even affect our survival? To me, it's a weird, like, why would we even evolutionary be capable to, like, think of something like that? And it's happened since, like, humans.
Evolved to ask other questions, and then they were applied to that question.
Tammy's worked in the hospital. Over there.
Yeah, they would just sit there and look at a fucking person having a seizure, and they're like, "Oh, what's that? Oh, that's just fucking demons. That's just the fucking demons. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's just your brother having demons." They didn't know how the fucking brain worked. They didn't know any of this shit worked. They just assumed an entire plague would wash by. They even have no idea, and really it was just their undercooked shit food. That's all it was.
Think irrational behavior.
And are you arguing, by the way, that people don't get positive respects for practicing religion? Like we've done studies on people.
No. I would at least argue that religion is able to establish some semblance of community. But that's about it. And there's also an assistance for people who are the most destitute. That people are able to turn their life around by establishing a religiosity to it. But
I'm not talking
I think that the
social
benefits that occur from these two aspects are far outweighed by the negatives. People's ability to determine reality is incredibly stunted. It is horrendous. I come to the conclusion that religion in itself is almost like a plague upon society. Not that I would say that we should ban religion. I would never make that argument. I think like banning the religion is far worse than just letting it.
No, I'm not. That's not my claim. I claim positive in the brain, receptor of the brain, meaning that chemically people have positive receptors of dopamine, right, released when they practice religion. That is a biological.
Anything that is considered positive in their brain will give dopamine responses. I don't know why that's somehow. I mean, I feel like you could literally just join a community club, right, of any interest, and then you get the same thing. Like you don't need a religion that is used to destroy, wholesale slaughter groups of people because my religion good, your thing bad.
Do you distinguish between like a religion versus like a cult?
I think some of them are not as cults.
I remember the quote that was given by by Joe Rogan, where he said the difference between a religion and a cult is, in the religion, the guy's dead.
It's probably the best response. That's what I was thinking.
It's hilarious. It's a hilarious
Probably the only.
response.
It's the only. It's true. It's the only.
Like the guy's dead.
It is basically the only
in the
difference.
cult, in the cult, they pretty much force you to stay. In religion, that you're allowed to leave freely.
All right, that's
Wait,
also
then hold on. How do you
probably
look at like a
interesting.
Jehovah's Witness? Do you think a Jehovah's Witness is a fucking? They force you to stay there.
Yeah, that's a cult. Even deemed by the Christian
You
community.
think? Wait, you think the Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult?
I thought so.
they're-
Religion.
Yeah, so I know they claim to be religion, but even in the Christian community of their own faith, they call it a cult because you can't leave. You're basically just trapped there. Same with the Amish, right?
Interesting.
I feel like I'm very reluctant to call the Jehovah's Witness a cult.
I mean, that's what people claim. I mean, the definition of what a cult is.
No one calls it a cult, though. They'd call it a religion.
I mean, Scientology calls himself a religion too, right?
Well, yeah, the
And
guy's
SF
dead.
obviously a cult.
Wait, the guy's
So, but
dead.
yes. No, it's you're still pretty much trapped in Scientology when you get.
I thought Elron. I thought they believe he's alive technically or some shit. But that's besides the point.
Okay. Yeah. So the definition is able to leave, the access to leave the religious group itself and not be harassed, basically.
Well, I mean, but then there's aspects of fucking shunning. Not just the Jehovah's Witnesses, but the Mormons as well. They do shunning as like a regular practice.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, people shun even without religious.
What would you
involved
say
faith.
that is being like forced to stay or no?
It has to be by force, by technicality.
Well,
so it's a physical. It's physical force.
Do you know how ridiculous this is sounding now? You
think
yourself
they're
are
really
laughing.
going to Sunday
You
school?
yourself are laughing because you're like, this is silly. This is kind of silly.
Kids are like forced to go to Sunday school. They're forced into religion. None of us picked our own religion for the most part.
So the point is, as a self-governing adult, are you able to enter a church, right? And them not make you physically leave that thing. So like one of the we've seen cults happen in the States, right? Where they have cult camps, while they literally have pretty much armed militia telling you have to go back to your tent. That is the difference.
I'm sorry. Repeat that. What?
Yes. So like we have a survey of cults in the United States because we have access to freedom of religion, right? And so one of the things we know is mass suicide, and a couple of the current cults we have here in society will literally have kind of what call cult camps, right? And they have armed guards and personnel that will force you back to your tent if you try to leave. Like there's plenty of things of people trying to escape, and then the cult gets broken up because the cops, the authorities come in and scatter them. That's a cult.
Back to the combo though. I think it's really entertaining though, the people who sort of were like, God could exist. Like, what about the Big Bang? As if they were this notion that they only believe in religion because there's so many open-end questions towards the Big Bang. Like that is in Sunday school they said you should believe in Jesus Christ because we don't know what caused the Big Bang. No, they say
exactly what happened at the beginning of the Big Bang. Like what
I
happens
wish
at that
the Bible.
point, right?
I wish the Bible said you should believe in this because we don't know what caused the Big Bang and what caused the thing that caused the Big Bang, etc. But it's not about that at all. So for people to come on here, and I see it on other people who are live streaming, like debate with me that God exists or not exists, they always will talk about the Big Bang. And I'm like, the Big Bang's not even mentioned in the Bible. Like, stop acting like your religion's legitimate because you have some questions about the Big Bang. There's no way when you went to Sunday school as a kid, they were telling you to believe in this because there's open-end questions when it comes to the Big Bang. It's just hilarious to me. But whatever, God's real, but COVID is a hoax to these people. That's okay. I know the evidence.
God's real, but COVID is a hoax. That's fucking hilarious.
It's just ridiculous. It's just so disingenuous to me.
Listen, they believe, okay?
You're good, though. You're a good debater.
I was hoping for somebody to really slam it. Stance!
It's hard.
Stance!
Okay, alright, I got one for you.
Throw it in, come on.
I even have a new one for
Let's
you.
go,
okay?
bitch.
Alright,
Let's go.
Alright, okay, hold on. Here. Now this is gonna be, I know we're going to be arguing this shit for months on end, but I'm going to start it out since you asked me to. Now remember, you asked for this shit.
I asked.
Okay. The greatest mathematical mind of the 20th century proved the existence of God. Now, you probably never heard of this guy. Albert Einstein would often remark that he went to his office at Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study just to have the privilege of walking home with Kurt Gödel, a good friend of Einstein. Gödel was the most brilliant, influential mathematician and logician of the 20th century, a master of proofs who ran non-Euclidean circles around the most brilliant minds of his day. Gödel devastated philosophical paradigms with the theorems he developed, and he laid bare long-held assumptions and cherished axioms as fundamentally unprovable. Gödel also mathematically demonstrated something that many thought was beyond the purview of proof. Hold on. Namely, the existence of God. Okay, so...
It's the incompleteness theorem?
Right, and then they use AI to back it up, and the AI has basically said there has to be a God. So, for me, God is a super being. Now, I suspect that Gödel also thought the same thing. It's not some dude floating around in the clouds. It's just a being that is far more advanced than we are. Or it could be us in the future. It could be us 1 billion years from now in another existence, and they're running a computer simulation that we are living in. We're nothing more than an ancestor simulation. But that would prove the existence. That would prove the existence of a creator. That is what a God is, right? A God is a creator. That's
something that is on the basis of supernaturalism.
Wait, hold on.
So no, that's not what I'm talking about. Well, supernatural to us, only because we are like the Stone Age people in the Amazon that don't have the technological power that this God has that probably created the entire universe that we live in. It could be a supercomputer that actually created this, that has advanced AI that thinks like a human, but thinks like a human on steroids, so to speak. In other words, it's a super AI, but it has the thought processes of a human, but much smarter, much faster. So if that's the case, you would have a godlike entity. Now, I'm going to say this and I'll shut up. So there's a belief amongst physicists that there's 3 steps to godliness, and basically the first step is there's no science. It's just bullshit. People waving their arms around, praying to whatever, the sun god, the star god, whatever. Then the next step is the transitional period where we now have some form of science, and we're headed towards God, and God is AI. And once the AI hits, it builds upon itself. Once they really get an AI that thinks like a human but does it at super speeds with super intelligence, you now have a God. And the sky's the limit once you get that. But we're not there yet, but we're fast approaching that. So once that happens, that God can create, the AI can create its own universe and its own existence, a simulation. We already have computer games that are simulations, but they're rudimentary simulations. You look in one area, it's...
But you're assuming behind you,
hold on. Behind you, there's nothing. There's nothing. It's what do they call
that?
It's
just gotta get the gaps. That's all this is. I was expecting something interesting. It's just got the gaps.
So you're talking about Gödel's incompleteness theorem was the first thing that you're talking about. Are you familiar with the mathematical concept of completeness?
Go ahead, tell me.
So the mathematical concept of the completeness was a hypothesis that was being sought out for much of the first half of the 20th century. And what that was an intuition that a perfect mathematical system should always be determinate if the initial conditions of the system are known. That's what Gödel was searching for. That's what many other mathematicians of the time were searching for. What Gödel's incompleteness theorem says is that basically there is no such thing as completeness within, like, a comprehensive completeness within mathematics. So it's not true that you'll always be able to calculate like a determinate solution for a mathematical system given known initial conditions. That's why we have things like chaotic attractors and stuff like that, where it's like you can't determine what like the projected behavior of a system into the future will be, because like some of the fundamental reasons for that is because within logic, which is like a system that humans construct in order to figure things out about the world, there's always an unavoidable circumstance where you have certain definitions within that are inescapably self-referential. So it ends up being like circular logic that's like paradoxical in a way. So that's what Gödel's incompleteness theorem essentially like means. I like, it just seems like a logical leap to say like therefore God. Like that just means that like there are that when you explore like the bounds of logic and you stretch it and you twist it and all of that, what you come up against is like a wall of paradox that is like you can't do anything with.
Well, I mean, I could go further, but all right. Well, I will. Okay, so there's a physicist, Dr. Gates, worked for 30 years, and in quantum string theory, he has basically found a computer code at the base of it. And Neil deGrasse Tyson's his buddy, and he's an atheist.
This guy.
Oh yeah, I know, but see, you don't like math because now we got some proof
it's not
going
the basis of like fucking math. The problem.
What do you mean computer code?
The problem that is happening is that it is still, at the end of the day, a God of the gaps fallacy.
Well, no. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. I think this is a.
Do you understand what I mean by God of the gaps fallacy?
All right, tell me.
So that which we cannot explain, a la before the Big Bang, must be God. Because we can't explain it, must be something that's beyond, something that it cannot understand, must be God. Of course, the God of the gaps fallacy is very interesting in the fact that the God seems to keep moving away from us. For example, we didn't know what was above the clouds for a long time. And so the whole idea of the God being above the clouds was the thing. But then, of course, we got to the point where we're above the clouds. Okay, God is not in the clouds. God is somewhere else. He's in space. He is past the firmament. But then, of course, we go past the firmament. We find out there's no firmament. We look forward and we see, okay, no God here. And we say, okay, well, then he is beyond the universe. He is beyond space and time. You'll notice that anything that it is that we do not understand, we're now at the point where it's like we have to reject empirical reality and say maybe there's something beyond in order to determine that God exists. When what seems to be obvious to me is we simply assume something exists under the basis of superstition, and it turns out that the rules that are dictated by this quote-unquote God seems to change based on time and place that you're born in. That tells me that it's on the basis of humans. Humans are making up God. There could be literally nothing. In fact, the current mathematical understanding of the Big Bang is that it's asymptotic, as in it never reaches to the beginning. It is impossible to reach to the beginning because it no longer makes logical sense to do so.
Okay, so did you want me to finish why I am saying there is a super being?
I'm just saying you're bringing up the same God of the gaps argument.
No, I'm not. Okay, look. God is a mathematician. There is too much order in our existence for it to just be happenstance. You can look at the intricacies and see that there is math involved in it. Look at the complexity of your genes.
Involved in the logic in the Euclidean world that we live in. That doesn't mean there must be a designer. That doesn't follow.
Do you see intelligent design in your genes in your body?
No.
Your genetic makeup. You think that just happened by happenstance?
Yes, through abiogenesis, yes. I have done enough reading on that where I am completely convinced that that is the case.
Okay,
also, if God designed the human body, like, he kind of did a pretty shitty job of it, right? I mean, like, it's clear that we evolved, like, bipedal locomotion.
Bro, look at fucking wisdom teeth. You don't even have to bring up bipedal motion. Look at the fucking wisdom teeth.
So there are
Look
so
at
many
your
things
fucking
wrong.
vertebrae. Look at your fucking back, dude. We're not designed to walk on two fucking legs. Our fucking back breaks fucking halfway through for no reason. We get cancer like no tomorrow? Like what?
And it's like our hip to, like, our pelvis to head ratio means that up until modern medicine was formed, like 50% of childbirths would end with
People
either
with
the
lighter
the
skin
mother
get
or the
fucking
child dying.
skin
Cancer's
cancer. People
probably
with
because of
darker skin
diet.
get fucking melanin. Like, it's literally entirely, it's very largely environmental as to why somebody gets cancer. There's also genetic reasons why somebody would get cancer. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, Amender, like, the main reason why, like, cancer is largely like a disease of old age, and it makes sense if you think about it, because it's like our evolution.
We never lived that long.
Yeah, exactly.
We lived about
Evolution-
30, 35, and then we would die.
Right. So like the only thing evolution cares about is reproduction, right? So like if there are genetic defects that lead you to get cancer and die when you're 60, that'll never be selected out.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've already reproduced by then, and you already passed it on.
Alzheimer's is next.
But again, this is my point. It's like it doesn't logically follow that there must be a God. The only thing that we can point to is that, oh, there could be a God. Okay, give me the evidence. Give me the evidence. I will change my fucking tune instantly. You can't sit there and point out to the entire world around us and say, oh, well, look how beautiful it is. Look how amazing it is. Look how complex everything is. There must be a designer. You're inferring that there must have been a designer to begin with, making the entire logical argument circular. You need to be able to argue something on the very basis. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I was going
devil's
to.
advocate for Stens real
All right,
quick,
go ahead,
okay?
Stens.
Because I think I can play devil's advocate.
I'll stop my tornado. I'll let you finish. Go ahead, Stens.
Bit. So, like, I think that
wait for Stens.
Oh, go ahead. I want to hear what he's got to say. Okay. Go ahead. Make the opposing argument.
For Stens. Because I think that, you know, the first part of Stens's argument is a pretty decent one. Because, like, I think that you can look at the bedrock of physics and the bedrock of mathematics and stuff like that as we currently understand them. And I think it's fair to deduce from all of that there are, like, I don't want to use it's kind of loaded, but like the term, there are higher orders of reality that we don't really understand. And I think that's reasonable. I think that's like pretty obvious from like what we've been learning about physics in the last, you know, few decades and the past century or so. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think Stens, like, where you jump the gun is when you like attribute agency to that sort of thing. Like, I think it's pretty clear that there's like a sort of deeper reality that we see in physics and mathematics that's like imbued in the universe.
If it was
we observe
deeper reality, we would be able to measure it in some way.
Well,
the only aspect of quote unquote deeper, it's kind of like when someone talks about a conspiracy theory. It's only a conspiracy theory when there's no facts to back it up.
No,
that's really what it is. It's like we can't really prove what's happening, but this is the fucking conspiracy. And so it becomes fact when there's enough evidence to show that that is in fact the case. I would not make the assumption that there is a God under the basis that we don't really have any evidence to play with this. We can play epistemological games all the time. I've told Stens that what you're arguing is effectively the brain in a vat argument. And he says, well, I'm not a brain in a vat. The end result is that it's the same concept. It doesn't matter if you're a brain in a vat or some sort of construct. At the end of the day is that we don't really have any inferential logic to show that it points to that. There is no predictability. There is nothing that indicates that we are that. So while it's a fun little epistemological game, it doesn't really output to anything.
I was
that's not where I was going. That's not where I was going with that. So,
hold on a minute. I'm just going to say this and go on. I sent you a video of Dr. James Gates where he worked for 30 years and found a computer code at the base of our entire existence. And he said, that it's not just some random computer code, it is a very specific type of computer code. So that he thinks we're living in a simulation. If that's the case, then there is a creator, and it's not, you know, the creator of some god floating around a cloud. It's like a mathematician creator. It's a super being, or it's an artificial AI that is far advanced, that something made. It's like if you give 10 people a shovel and you tell them to move dirt, they're still not going to be able to move dirt as if they built a fucking bulldozer and the bulldozer moved the dirt. Well, that's what computers are like. Eventually, hold on. Eventually, computers.
You ramble a lot.
Eventually, computers will become so powerful they will be able to create existences in their own simulation that they make. And that is a form of God, isn't it? And
no,
we could
not
be
really.
living. Well, anyway, all right. I sent you a video of Dr. James Gates. It's 5 minutes long. You watch it at your leisure and see what you think.
So, Stens, I can demonstrate how we could be living in a simulation, and there still could be no creator or God.
Well, something had to make the simulation.
Establish,
no, that's where I'm going with it,
establish
because
a
that's not
predictability
true.
behind it.
Maybe,
no, like we're not.
Maybe there's more than one God.
Amender, this is not a scientific discussion anymore with this. This is a philosophical discussion, obviously. So, like.
Well, then the answer is that it doesn't matter.
No, it does. It is a science.
It really doesn't.
I just gave you a physicist. I gave you a video of his proof that we live in a simulation. Now,
so
you're telling me that you have more knowledge of this than a physicist that is one of the top physicists in the world.
And I don't have your link. Where is it?
I gave it to you. Hold on.
Okay, all right, hold on. So we could live in a simulation.
No delete channel.
We could live in a simulation that doesn't necessarily imply there's a creator to the simulation. Like, what if you had a simulation that was nested inside another simulation that was nested inside another, and it was just infinitely recursive? Like, in that case, we could be living in a simulation, but there couldn't actually never be a creator because it could just be like an infinite procession of simulations.
Wait, we have time. Let's go over it. Let's play the video.
Each one of them has its own creator.
Wait, hold on. I'll play the video.
I have to take a piss, though. What, you watch the video,
Okay, so we're just gonna select this video.
Amender, I think it's fair to say, like what the argument that I was making earlier is, like, you can look at physics, you can look at mathematics. And I think it's fair to say, because we can see things like, I mean, these aren't like established science or anything like that, but string theory, M theory, and stuff like that. All of these imply extra dimensions in a lot of relative, like
I'm gonna play this
theory.
I would recommend
to sort of like space-time,
look
like
at my
recursive
stream
loops and stuff, and all of these sort of things.
I don't know what
like,
you're talking about, dude. Just please.
You're not listening.
Yeah, I'm not. That's correct. I was gonna play this video like Sten's requested. Okay. I don't know if you have my stream up, but I'm gonna play it right now.
University of Maryland professor James Gates proves we live in a virtual reality simulation.
Who the fuck is Simulation Secrets? Oh, okay. Simulation Secrets is going to tell us how this works. Bro, you're killing me.
Professor James Gates retired from the University of Maryland in 2017, but not before making a pretty big impact within the scientific community. Let's hear what he has to say about the nature of our physical reality.
So where has this pursuit taken you?
Oh my God.
Where have you landed?
Why would you ask that?
I'm asking that here and now. It's New York City. It's March 7th.
Well, partly it's taken to these very strange images that are behind your head right now. These are pictures of equations. I've been, for the last 15 years, trying to answer the kinds of questions that my colleagues here have been raising. And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes, just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web. And so I'm left with the puzzle of trying to figure out what...
All right, stop. That's not a computer code. When you're on a browser and you're surfing the web, you are not seeing computer code. You're seeing the HTML elements, which is not code. All right, moving on.
Whether I live in the matrix or not.
You're telling me you know
you're
more
blowing my
about
mind.
computer
No, I'm
code
telling you,
than
I know more about fucking websites. I'm telling you, yes, based on what he just said about websites, he is actually fucking retarded when it comes to websites. Yes, I will go that far. And the reason why I know that is because I actually am a web developer and I know how websites work. He is sitting there and looking at HTML and considering it to be code, like websites. Okay, let's assume that he didn't say a fucking website analogy and that he said, I don't know, like some fucking like Python or fucking PHP or Perl or whatever the fuck programming language and not fucking HTML. All right, let's just assume that's what he meant.
Mind at this moment. So you're saying, are you saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers?
That is correct. So,
wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper.
I'm playing it right now. If you click on my stream, you'll be able to see it.
All right, where's your stream?
I'll send it to you right now, my dude. You may want to mute yourself on DP because you will hear yourself because we're streaming. Do you understand what I mean by that?
All right, so mute myself.
No, yeah, mute yourself because you will hear yourself on the stream. That make sense? All right, I'm gonna play it.
I'm using push
You
to
find.
talk. Does that matter?
Perfect. No, that's perfect. Great work.
Okay.
Computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos. Computer code.
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code.
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code. You're saying it is computer code.
It's not even just is computer code. It's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory and in general in systems that we say are supersymmetric.
Okay.
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Time to go home, I think. Where are we going to go at? So are you saying we're all just, there's some entity that programmed the universe and we're just expressions of their code?
Well, I didn't say that. Some of those
like the Matrix? That's what you said.
Some of those codes are showing on the screen behind you right now. They don't look like codes, but these pictures, which we call adinkras, are graphical representations of sets of equations that are based on codes. So this is, in fact, to answer your question more directly, I have in my life come to a very strange place because I never expected that the movie The Matrix might be an accurate representation of the place in which I live.
While Professor Gates does not openly acknowledge that we live in a simulation, it's the only conclusion that can be drawn if computer code underlies our physical universe. Professor Gates' information is consistent with MIT professor Seth Lloyd's information. Professor Lloyd regards the universe as a giant quantum computer. Let's listen to Dr. Lloyd describe this concept in his own words.
Yeah, well, so I've argued that the universe is effectively a quantum computer. In fact, not even effectively, actually is a quantum computer. And actually, this is something, in some sense, it shouldn't be controversial because, first of all, we know that the laws of physics support computation. We know this, we don't have to prove it because I actually possess a computer, right? And then we actually also know that the laws of physics support quantum computation, so computation at the most microscopic level performed by elementary particles. And again, I don't have to prove it because I own a quantum computer, right? And here at IQC, you have vast laboratory space chock full of quantum computers. So, the fact that the universe at bottom is processing information computing in a uniquely quantum mechanical way is in some sense uncontroversial. Though when I make this argument, it always seems to cause controversy, so I don't know why this is so. But
couple that with the complexity in geometry.
He didn't say anything about the universe. He's simply saying that it's like, okay, these quantum computers behave in this way, therefore universe behave in this way. I need something, right? Here, okay, here's my issue, right? You'll notice that this person is called Simulation Secrets, right? Do you see the problem? Do you see my issue? Stands. This dude went to go get more food.
I need more food.
This is bullshit, man. Dude, this is coming from Simulation
This declassified.
Secrets. Dude, you can't tell me that this is how you believe. I'll finish the video.
Geometry found all around us within nature, and it becomes clear that we live in a calculated mathematical universe.
Oh, wait, hold on. It is clear we live in a calculated mathematical universe. Yes, it does appear that it is consistent with our mathematics. Yes. Does that therefore mean that we live in a simulation and that there is a God? First of all, you got to prove that we live in a simulation. That's number one. Right?
We live in a simulation.
You don't know that. And even if that was true, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter.
No, it does matter.
How does that matter? What predictive power do you have knowing it's a simulation as opposed to not?
Because if we are in a simulation, something created it. It didn't just happen.
The problem is, when I'm saying that it doesn't matter, the reason why I say it doesn't matter is because it doesn't matter if you live in a simulation or not live in a simulation. The end result is that we still live in this interesting Euclidean geometry world.
We were discussing whether a God exists or not. You're way off topic now.
Okay.
Hold on. If we live in a simulation, is there a God that created the simulation? A God being a super being. That is my definition of a God.
We have no basis that is in fact the case, and therefore I reject it. It makes no sense.
You're too invested in your belief.
I don't have a belief.
You do. You have a belief in
no.
Your anti-belief.
Right, your anti-belief. But here's what I'm trying to just answer the question.
Mind you, I make no positive claim that there is no God.
Question. Will you answer the question?
Of course.
If we live in a simulation, just entertain that we do. Let's just say we do for argument's sake. Something had to create it. Is that correct?
No.
Oh my God. I give up. I surrender.
Do you understand what I mean by like asymptotic?
No, you never would. You did not answer the question.
I did. You asked the question. I said no.
Okay, well then how do you come up with no, knowing that if something is a simulation, it has to be created?
Based on a Euclidean geometric world, that would make sense. But you're talking about something that would be way beyond that. And so it is possible that it just simply self-creates its own with no creator whatsoever.
Let's look up the word simulation. I don't want to. Let's see what it says here.
All right, I'm yeeting my window.
A simulation is the imitation of operation of a real-world process or system over time.
Moderation business.
All right, so that would be something that doesn't just occur naturally.
Wait. Again, you're basing this off of a Euclidean system, right? Do you understand what I mean by Euclidean?
It's mathematically created. It's a
Do you understand what I mean by the Euclidean?
I just heard your clitoris.
Euclid was a mathematician, right?
Yes, he was a mathematician that basically discovered geometry as we know it. It is the modern understanding of how geometric objects work. Given the fact that there seems to be XYZ coordinates for our existence and that we are a 3D geometric shape, this is how our universe works. We're able to observe it, measure it with a frightening degree of accuracy, mind you, through our mathematics, come to these conclusions. You're saying that there could be something beyond that.
Oh, absolutely. All the top physicists say there are 11 dimensions, not just 3, like in Euclidean geometry.
We have four dimensions. That's what we
Well,
have.
not according to the
dimensions is
body,
bullshit.
not according
I've
to
heard
the
of the folding and that whole thing. It's bullshit. That's not what physicists believe.
If they do believe it,
it's just a fucking hoax idea.
The top physicist in the world, Dr. Michio Kaku, says we have 11 dimensions. And you know what he says? He says math proves it.
Michio Kaku pushes all sorts of fucking nonsense, man. I don't look at a popu chemist or a popu physicist as like the arbiter of facts here.
Yeah, but it's not just him. There's a whole bunch of them that are saying the same thing.
Let's look it up. How many dimensions are there? Well, goddamn. The world as we know it has 3 dimensions of space, length, width, depth, and 1 dimension of time. There's a mind-bending possibility that many more dimensions exist out there. According to string theory, one of the leading physics models of the last half century, the universe operates with 10 dimensions. Okay, fair enough.
No, 11.
Fair enough. I
Anyway,
will say that I am wrong about something. That's fine. I guess I'm operating under the
You know how many
concept of
videos I've watched
universe
about
under the 4
this shit?
dimensions. Well, okay. Again, YouTube is not how I determine.
Well,
my
no,
facts.
I've watched.
Okay.
No, hold on. I've watched. What would you call it? I've watched Dr. Kaku explain why there's 11 dimensions, and I've watched many videos of him explaining it, and he said it is provable through the math. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I mean, there are plenty of animals that don't even have sight, or they lack other sensory perceptions. And we only have 5 senses of perception, maybe 6 if you believe in ESP, but that's a different argument. But
Well, I believe
what
that
I'm saying,
consciousness is derived from a desire of survival.
Okay, well, but what I'm telling you is
Rather,
they
okay,
prove
no.
it. You're Amanda, you're always saying you have to be able to measure something.
It's
to
not
prove
a desire of survival.
Okay, hold on. You have to measure it. That's what you say. You want proof.
Yes.
They already have proof that there's 11
God
dimensions.
exists.
Let me finish. They have proof that there's 11 dimensions through math.
Okay, so again, I was able to pull up a reputable source where the current string theory says that there are 10 dimensions. Fine. Moving on.
He said 11, but anyway.
Amanda, I have a question for you. Kind of off topic, but I have to ask. Right? Is integral yes, sir?
Absolutely.
I think he is yes, sir.
He told me he was.
Yeah,
and,
he sounded like yes,
you all
sir.
lost the bet. Now you have to simp for what was it? 2 weeks?
Wait, I was on Team Yes Sir, Stens, if you don't remember.
Oh, whoever was against it has to simp for us.
Who did they have to simp for? Can they simp for me?
Did you think that integral was yes, sir?
I
want to show you a video.
Just say yes.
After
the
event, right? Which is going to be in about 18 minutes.
So what are you saying? I missed that.
I want to show you a video after the debate in 18 minutes because it's not related to this current debate that like God is illogical. You're saying that God is logical through the inference that we are a simulation.
I said God is a mathematician is what I said.
No, that's not the question. I'm saying God is illogical because it doesn't show any predictability that God exists or God does not exist. It does not show any predictability analysis that God exists. And on the basis that we live in this current world and we determine our facts and logic and reason from the surroundings of us, given that there is nothing that shows that God exists, it tells me the idea that God exists is illogical. It doesn't make sense.
Well, Gödel disproves your ideas on why God doesn't exist. And he uses the opposite of what you're saying.
No, he's giving a God of the gaps argument, and you hold it up.
I looked it up. Gödel's incompleteness theorems show that if a formal system, one, finitely specified, two, large enough to include arithmetic, and three, consistent that it is incomplete, his groundbreaking logical demonstration that all mathematical systems have limits was a lesson in humility to the logical positivist of Gödel's day, who asserted that scientific and mathematical investigations of the universe could discover all truths and have no limits. Gödel showed that if science is based on mathematics and mathematics cannot discover all truths, then science, in principle, cannot discover all truths. Using mathematics that revolutionized the world of logic and science, Gödel showed that there is more to truth than can be captured by proof. And that was Einstein's favorite teacher. He used to love to walk home with him so he could learn shit from him. So that goes opposite of the way of your logic. Your logic is if something can't be proven, then it doesn't exist. But with him, the very fact that you can't prove it through math proves that there's something bigger going on. So, anyways, and then they put it to the
point outline in his philosophical beliefs in his papers. Points relevant to the ontological proof include: there are other worlds and rational beings of a different and higher kind. The world in which we live is not the only one in which we shall live or have lived. There are scientific, exact philosophy and theology, which deals with the concept of the highest abstractness, and that is also highly fruitful for science. Religions are, for the most part, bad, but religion is not. I'm like reading some of his ontological proofs, and
here, I'll read this to you. Let's see. Putting Gödel to the test with AI. For many years, Gödel's work was inaccessible and difficult to access because very few could reach the levels of mathematical, philosophical, and logical sophistication required even to understand it, let alone to evaluate it for logical and mathematical consistency. Recently, with the help of artificial intelligence specifically designed to evaluate higher order logic and advanced theoretical mathematics, researchers decided to put Gödel's ontological proof for the existence of God to the test.
Do you understand?
Demonstrating the consistency of Gödel's ontological proof, AI researchers concluded that from Gödel's premises, the computer proved necessarily there exists God, and also that this godlike entity is unique. Monotheism is a consequence of Gödel's theory.
Do you understand what I mean by what they mean by proofs?
Well, I don't know. You tell me what they mean by proofs, because evidently you're thinking of it differently.
No, I'm not. So
you said earlier that it has to be Euclidean. We live in a Euclidean 3D or 4D existence, and that has already been disproved by Dr. Kaku with string theory and mathematics that we live in 11.
We still live in a Euclidean world, regardless.
No, we don't live in a Euclidean world.
No, we do.
No, that's all you can measure and see, but math proves that we actually live in 11 dimensions.
10, but even then, that actually shows math shows this. String theory is entirely theoretical and mathematical. So you're not making an argument in your favor here. The other thing is that in order to, you can have a logical proof given that you understand the axioms or accept the axioms, and it is still considered a logical proof. For example, I could have an axiom that a dog is a cat and then continue onward with that axiom, then coming towards the conclusion of whatever it is basing that I think dogs are cats. If you accept the axiom, it is a logical proof. The problem is that axiomatically, he would have to make the assumptions that God would exist, and or there would be axioms that have to show that there is some kind of God that can be attributed, and then that would show his mathematical proof as true. But the problem is that I have a problem with the axiom.
See, I still don't see how you can say that if we're living in a simulation, nothing created it, because the very fact that it's a simulation means something created it. Simulations don't just
you
happen.
Assume that it is created,
That's
and
the,
you're
that's
also
the definition
assuming
of a
that things
simulation.
live in a Euclidean way, which is what you're used to.
Right.
But anything outside of the quote-unquote simulation could or could not be a Euclidean world.
I just sent you a video of the 11 dimensions according to quantum physics. Well, why not? You keep saying there's 10.
Well, I told that there was.
I keep telling you that physicists have
measured that there was 10
math,
based off of this.
They prove it with math that there's 11.
It doesn't matter if there's 10 or 11. It's irrelevant to the position. I'm saying God does not exist. It doesn't make sense that God exists. It's not logical that God exists.
Would you say that it's a possibility that a super being created the existence we're in mathematically and with science created the existence that we're in? Not some kind of, dude floating around in a cloud, but a super being. Just like
there's some sort of predictability behind it, sure.
Okay, well, Elon Musk thinks we're in a simulation that's created.
All right, great. Elon Musk is a literal fucking moron. That loses
he's a moron.
$10 million a day.
Man in the world. Okay, so
no, he's not.
Well, he was. He may be the second.
Yeah, he's losing. I think it's like anywhere between $2 and $10 million a day.
It really
right now.
doesn't.
His fucking shares are dropping like a fucking rock.
Okay, so you got Dr. James Gates, one of the top physicists in the world, says we live in a simulation. You got other physicists, and I'll get a list of them, is what I'll do for the next debate, but they say we're living in a simulation. If we live in a simulation, that means it's created. And if it's created, that means a super being made it. And to me, when we play computer games, a lot of them, especially MMOs, those are rudimentary simulations. They will get better and better over time until they're indistinguishable from reality, from what we think is reality.
So can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if this even I kind of like Stim's approach to this, but even
we have 9 minutes, and I'm gonna end the.
Let's say for shits and giggles, this is a simulation created by a super being. What is the point? Is the point just to make us all align and get along together and worship it as some great being? Is it to not let people touch themselves? I mean, what is the point of God at that point? That's what I need to understand, because the part that always bothered me is what has been done in God's name or in any religion's name, since God itself has transmorphed throughout time. Like, we've already talked about Zoop and Kai or whatever the fuck it was. So even if this is that one, Pochli. Even if this is a simulation, what is the point of God?
Well, do you think you have the mind of God, or could you be less than God since you were created by a God? If that's the case,
no, I don't think
then your ideas may be wrong, or you may not even have the capacity to fathom the reason why.
I have a couple things I'd like to add.
Go ahead, Fuccio.
So in the same way that early religions were able to deduce a certain understanding about the nature of humans, right? So have modern scientists, biologists, physicists, mathematicians been able to deduce certain truths about our physical universe, right? So you have, like, you know, the point of existence is to find meaning in a way, right? It's to find meaning. Math is not invented, it's discovered, right? The equations, physics equations are derived from real phenomena, right? It's people discovering how to express in math and in equations already existing phenomena. In the same way that, you know, you could argue early Jews or early Christians or early Hindus tried to deduce the nature of the human psyche, right, of human consciousness, right? What is this meat bag we're in, right? Why does our brain work the way it works? Which direction should we point our brain, right? The same way, which direction should we point the Hubble telescope or whatever the new one is? I forgot what it's called, right? So it's like we are in a simulation, but given the fact that we are given consciousness and a physical body to interact with our environment, right? It's about figuring out which way to go. So we may not have complete answers, right? Just recently, relativity, right? General relativity has basically been proven to be, I'm going to butcher this, but there's like a really cool video about a mathematician who
Where's
like
God in this?
Huh?
Where's God?
Well, no, that's
in
not what I'm
all
saying.
this?
Well, just hold on. So,
I'm saying God is illogical. It doesn't make any sense that
well,
God
so hold on. So
exists.
Assuming that we live in a simulation, right, and that we have the ability to interface with the world, right, whether that's the internal world or the external world, right, we live in a simulation where we are able to interface with our physical environment, both inner and outer. And so the point of the simulation, right, or the point of some being creating a simulation like this is for people to figure out the right path, right? And obviously, that's not to say there's not going to be errors, all right? I mean, human beings are obviously error prone.
You're assuming that there's a God. This entire discussion, you're assuming there is a God.
But we
I am
can,
saying that the concept of God is illogical. So if you infer God off of the basis of this quote-unquote simulation, my problem is that I need to see some sort of evidence that there is this God.
I gave you evidence that there's okay. The evidence
Two
is
YouTube videos of people that confirm their existence.
How many do you
simulation
give you? There's
secrets.
tons of them.
And then like a professor that sits there and professes an idea that we live in a virtual reality simulation based off of his axioms is not proof.
He worked for 30 years
you're basing
on
it
this
off of axioms.
to isolate a computer code that he finally isolated. He knew something was up.
I can make a proof saying A equals
Bro,
E.
he's a PhD. He's not, oh my God.
I'm not saying that he's incorrect, but I'm saying if you accept
trust the
his
science
axioms,
first, Amender. Trust the science.
I'm not disagreeing with him. What I'm saying is that if you trust his axioms, as in if you accept his axioms, the proof works, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that I don't accept the axiom. The axiom itself.
But the proof works outside of his axioms, right? You
no.
Just,
That's not how proofs work. It requires an axiom in order to prove it.
Okay, I'm not going to debate the definition of axiom, right? But basically, what he did is he
2 minutes.
He presupposed some conditions under which he was able to work out this theory, right? And then that theory, I mean, assumably what Stenz is saying is that theory actually generalizes to things outside of the original preclusions. right? So it's something that was created based on specific axioms or specific precluding information, but it was able to generalize outside of the kind of narrow scope in which it was created. Does that make sense?
Bless you.
Sorry.
God bless you.
Allergies. Oh,
Gesundheit.
all right. We'll conclude the stream at this position, I think.
Yeah, you're illogical. We know.
He's been
You got me.
drinking.
You got me. You got me. I'm fucked. I'm fucked.
He's been
So-
drinking.
No, I've been able to keep time. I've been able to make cogent arguments. Come on.